Sunshines, it's Mo. All right, so today I have another video for you guys, and it's something that just recently, well, I was thinking about it for a couple weeks now, and then just recently I had the time to do it. So, and the Lord placed on my heart today. So it is Tuesday when I'm doing this video, but I'm not gonna post it until Saturday. Y'all know. So, um, so yeah. So before I get started on the topic is God is the creator. And just in light of that, I've been working on a lot of art lately, in the midst of studying and things like that. So I just wanted to share with you guys some of the art that I've been sharing. And I haven't been on Instagram, so those won't be on Instagram quite yet. I'm kind of taking a hiatus from social media for the most part. Um, but I wanted to let you guys see it first. So here we go. So the first one that I did, I was doing a self-portrait, and you know, I really like it. I think it looks like me, and yeah, so I'm proud. So here it is. I love the background. I love that I was able to do the background like this. Come in, see your face, and there's like charms in her hair that I decided to put in her hair, and she has locks. Look, I don't know if you can see it with this light, but she has locks, and there's charms on her hair that is like reminiscent of what we've been talking about, who we are to be. So I put pictures at the end as well, but yeah, that's the first one. And then the next one is one I really like. It's something that the Lord puts on my heart to do. It says pray, persist, and praise. So the three ladies. I really like this one. I love the background and everything. I actually did one originally that I gave to a friend of mine here recently, and I was just like, you know what? I want to make another one. So I did it in a similar fashion, but this one's more like, this one's mine. So this one is one that is personal to what I've been going through and things like that. So anyway, let's get right into God is the creator. Okay, so creator, or to create, means the smith and the waster, the one who shapes, fashions, and always in a divine activity. So when we think about God and the fact that He is the creator of all things, of all times, at all times, we have to know that He's the one who can build things up to create things, and He's the one that can destroy all things that He created, because He has that authority to do that. He's not only sovereign, but He's also the creator, in which He made all things for Himself, and He can destroy what He sees fit. So this takes me back all the way to the beginning in Genesis 1, starting with verse 1 and 2, but then I'm going to jump down to verse 31. It reads, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters." Then, and jumping down to 31, "Then God saw everything He made, and indeed it was very good. So the evening and the morning were the sixth day." Couldn't get that out. But anyway, so when we think about this, when we know the story. You know, God formed the light, and then the skies and the heavens and the stars, and you know, all of the vegetation, all the animals, and then on the sixth day he created man in his own image, right? So all of that, and at the end of his creation, he said he looked at everything he created, everything he made, and indeed it was very good. So when we think about God, I want you to take a moment to think of him as an artist. Something that I feel like I'm an artist in my own right. But when I think about art and making something from a blank canvas, you're trying to figure out, okay, proportions, and trying to figure out what colors, and you know, the background and all these different things. It's like you have to have a level of imagination. You have to have a level of creativity to be a creator, right? So with God, he is the greatest creator of all time, greater than Plato, not Plato, Picasso, that's what I meant. Greater than any creator that there ever was, whether you're looking at artistry and paint and sculpting and things like that, or whether you're looking at music and making melodies come together. He's the greatest creator of all times. So, because, and why is he a great creator? Well, because I think of it like this. So, just like a blank canvas, like these paintings that I showed you, they started out as white blank paintings or canvases. There was nothing in it. There was nothing on it. And so with God, the whole mass of the earth and everything was dark. It was void, just like we read. It was a blank slate, right? And he created something out of nothing. He created everything out of absolutely nothing. You know, and that takes great, unimaginable creativity, imagination, the ability, the wisdom to know what works and what, and keeping all of those things in scope, to where things that he created, they grow and they change and they metamorphosize and all of these different things, to not just be what they are, what they were created to be, but to be so much more in the future. So it's just like, what a mind, what a wise mind, and a wise God that we serve, that he's created all things, and he's created all things out of absolutely nothing. And to know that what he created, it didn't stay stagnant. It wasn't just, you know, the tree didn't just stay a stump, you know, or a little bitty, you know, little bitty seed, but it grew into a big oak, or it grew into a great maple tree, and it produced fruit, and that fruit was able to plant seeds that grow into other plants and trees and things. So it just speaks to the God that we serve, that he's so wise and so creative, that he made so many things all in a span of 6 days, the whole earth, and it stays in its form. It may change, things may happen to it and things like that, but it stays still on its axis. It stays no matter what's going on. The sun still shines, the moon still comes. You know, he keeps everything going because of who he is, you know. So and then not only that, but he says in 31, he looked at everything that he made and he said, it is very good. Before he created the light, oh, it's good. You know, the trees, the plants, all of those things, oh, it's good. but he looked at everything holistically and said, it's very good. So he put his stamp of approval on what he made. So to me, when I think about a painting that I'm working on and things like that, I take it seriously. Like it's not that deep. Like if something were to happen to it, it's like, okay, I could make something else. But it's like when you're working on something, when you're doing something, when you step back and it's just like, this is good, you approve of it. It's like, I want it just the way it is. Like, don't change a thing. This is exactly what it is. I believe that's the same way that God sees all that he created. And mind you, this is pre-fall, before sin came into the world, before rebellion came and all the other things that are sinful came into the world. So he looked at the world and he said, this is very good. He approved of it. So that just testifies to me that everything that God created, he created just as it's supposed to be. And I've done a video on identity and are you ready for the truth? And I've done a video on our identity and who we are and how precious we are to God and all of that. You can see those at a later time. But with this, I want to leave with you that he created everything exactly how he wanted it to be. So hold it. Don't change a thing. He created you exactly how he wanted you to be. And even with the fall and all the things that accumulated because of that, he still calls you good. And he purposes for you to be good and to come back into the form and back into the life and back into the relationship that he always wanted for his children, all that he wanted for his creation, everyone. So, but now it's, rather than that road being an easy one and being just seamless and all of that, because we have sin in the world and because we have our sin nature and our flesh that we have to crucify daily, then we have to choose good. We have to choose, because there's also evil. So we have to choose good, and choose God's best for ourselves, and to accept and yield to God's best for us. So I digress from that. And I also want to put out there that what God created, if we think of him as an artist, we can recognize that everything he created in some way, shape, or form, it reflects a part of his nature. Like the canvas that I made, the canvases that I painted, it's like at some level, in some way, it reflects me, or it reflects the mind or the heart that I was having when I was creating it. With the self-portrait, I was looking at a picture of myself to formulate that. Whereas God, he from his own wisdom, from his own imagination and mind, he created so much in everything. So it just testifies to the fact that he created everything for himself, and he made it for his delight. Just like any artist of music, or any artist of paint or art, or any kind of creative avenue, they create it to bring delight to others, bring delight to himself, to ourselves. And that's what God has done. So he not only created it and said it's good and approved it, but he also created it and delights in it. So, but let's talk about people that the Lord has created to do great things, and how they responded to it. Because sometimes we, as the created, as the creature, as the creation, we can kind of, God is calling us to to go and do this or to go and do that, that our destiny is connected to something that he created us to do. He created us specifically. And sometimes we can have a rebuttal in our hearts for the things that he's called us to do. So let's read. The first one that came to mind was Moses. When God called Moses to go to Pharaoh and to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt, this is what he said. So then Moses, and this is in Exodus chapter 4, verses 10 through 13. Then Moses said to the Lord, "Oh my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue." So the Lord said to him, "Who has made man's mouth? Or who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I, the Lord? Now, therefore, go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say." And he said, "Oh, my Lord, please send by the hand of whomever else you may send." And then the next one is, before we talk about that, the next one is Jeremiah, starting with chapter 1, verses 4 through 6. When Jeremiah hears the voice of the Lord for the first time, and God gives him, and tells him what he's called to do. Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations." Then said I, "Ah, Lord God, behold, I cannot speak, for I am a youth." So in both of these scenarios, in both of these situations, the person, the creation, in essence, was questioning the creator, like, "Lord, why are you sending me out? I'm not eloquent. I'm not this, I'm not that." And then Jeremiah, like, "I'm too young. Like, what do you mean?" So and that's what we do sometimes. How many times has God called you to do something and you're just like, "Oh, me?" Like looking all around like, "Me? For real?" Like, and you can bring up a whole bunch of laundry list of things that you feel disqualifies you from being who God called you to be. So, and it's kind of counterintuitive, because it's like we are the creation. Who are we to tell the creator, "No, that's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to do this," or "I can't do that because that is just not me." You know what I mean? Like, as if we know ourselves completely. And we can read all of the self-help books, or read all of the word that we want, but we don't know ourselves as much as the Lord does. We don't. And because he is the creator, he is the one who knows what's in us, and he knows how to get what is in us, what he's placed in us, to come out and manifest into the world in the way that he wants it to. So when we rebuttal, it's like, why are we doing that? And this is the question that I wanted to ask, and I want you to leave a comment below if you're seeing this, if you're watching this, or if you share it or whatever. Leave your comment below on this question. So, why do we, in our hearts or in our words, disqualify ourselves from the things we were created to do? The very thing God has called us to do. Why do we do that? Anybody? Leave your comment below. I would love to hear from you. But it's like, and I ask myself this all the time because I can find myself at times rebutting and pushing up against what God has called me to do or what God has given me the heart to do. Even with starting this YouTube channel, I mentioned it in my beginning video, the first video that I put out, and I said that I believe that God has called me to YouTube. This is not something I wanted to do. This is not something I aspired to do. This is not something that I was just like, oh, let me do this. But it was something that the Lord kept pressing on me and pressing on me and pressing on me back in 2020, I believe, to do this. And here I am still. And it's been a blessing to me, and it's been a blessing to others. And no, my channel is not, popping with all the subscribers in the world and stuff like that. But one thing that I was telling a friend of mine just over the weekend, that remember who called you. Remember who called you to the things that you're doing, because that's the one who's going to establish you, and that's the one who is going to make what he wants to happen. You look at Moses. He was called, and he was just like, no, I'm inadequate, and all these things. But God, by his grace, gave him Aaron to help him out and to help him to speak the things that God was calling him to speak. But at the end of the day, he was still the one called, right? So it's like, and he did great things in the name of the Lord, right? But it's like, so we have to trust by faith that God knows what he's talking about when he's calling us to something. And even though we're like, it doesn't look like, I don't feel like I look the part, or I act the part, or I feel like I should be further along to do the part, but God is the one who's called you. Remember who has called you, because the one who has called you is the one who will sustain you through whatever he calls you to do. And that's encouragement to myself, and that was not on my notes at all, but that was from above. But yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And remember also that God has your user manual, meaning that he knows how he's going to use you, how he's already planned out how he's going to use you for his name, and what he's going to do, and what gifts you have that he's going to draw out of you, even the gifts that you don't even know about yet. He knows. And that book manual, that user manual that every person has, is called the book of your life. And at the end of your life, God is going to take you through that book and show you the things that he called you to do that you either didn't do, or those things you did do that he was pleased with, because it was what he had ordained for you to do. Just like with Jeremiah, he said, I ordained you, I sanctified you. He didn't need a priest. He didn't need somebody to co-sign what he was doing in Jeremiah's life. But God said, I sanctified you. I ordained you to be a prophet to the people. So, and that's something right there. You don't need, when God is calling you, you don't need anybody's approval, anybody's co-signing, anybody's opinion about what you're doing. Because oftentimes what we will do is look for confirmation, or look for somebody to co-sign what God has said. And sometimes you won't get it. Sometimes you will, but sometimes you won't get it from outside people, because they don't see what God sees. Sometimes you don't see what God sees, but it's a testament of walking by faith and not by sight. Even looking at yourself and like, oh, do I see that in me? And stuff like that. You don't have to see it in you. God is going to establish it if it's from him. God is going to bring it out to the forefront when it is time. So don't worry about that. And I'm speaking to myself, because there's a lot of things that I would worry about and think about and ponder about when it's not in the outside world, but it's in me and it's in God working through me to do those things. So instead of looking at TV, instead of looking at people, instead of looking at family members, instead of looking at your education to show you what you're supposed to do, go to God. And I guarantee you that if you go to God and you trust Him with faith to ask Him, Lord, what am I supposed to be doing each day? Lord, what am I supposed to be doing today? What is it that you want me to do? Then He will reveal it. And the thing is, once He speaks, you need to move. Because a lack of movement can be disobedience from doing what you are called to do. So the next thing is, we're going to talk briefly about what happens when we refuse to believe God and let the world define us rather than Him. So this is in Romans 1, verse 20 through 25. It's kind of a long one. And it says, "For since the creation of the world, His invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because although they knew God, they did not glorify Him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made by corruptible man, and birds, and four-footed animals, and creeping things. Therefore God also gave them up to uncleanness, to the lust of their hearts, to dishonor their bodies among themselves, to exchange the truth of God for the lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen." So just a thing right here, just a lot in there. But one thing I will say is that we see this happening now, where people are exchanging the truth of God for a lie. And instead of worshiping God, the Creator, because He is the one who created all, and He is the one that all things belong to, we see people exchanging it for a lie and worshiping created things, whether it be people, whether it be celebrities, whether it be animals and trinkets and crystals and all these different things, instead of the God who created all things. So yeah, but the wrath of God is going to be poured out, because God is in His wrath is giving people up to their desires, to the things that they desire more than Him, and it's going to be for their demise. But these things must happen in order for the new to come. These things are going to continue to happen until Jesus comes back. And when He comes back, He's going to come and make all things new. He's going to come and everything that is old, everything is from the former, is going to be done away with, so that the new can come. And so there can be a new heaven and a new earth and a new Jerusalem and all those things that are talked about in Revelation. But I want to leave you with Revelation 21, 3 through 5, because I think that it is the hope that we as Christians should put our hope in, that God is going to make all things new, and that is good. He's going to turn what has been tainted and defiled in the world to become good again. So here we go. It says, "And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and He will dwell with them, and they shall be His people. God Himself will be with them, and be their God. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, no nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Then he who sat on the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said to me, Write, for these words are true and trustworthy, and true and faithful. Sorry. So I want to leave you with that no matter what you see in this world, no matter what things are now created by man rather than God, to try to be put on a pedestal and to take the place of God, to stand firm in God and trust that He created you. He created all things to be good, and because of the fall, things are defiled. Things, the nations, the world is in need of revival, our need of a touch from God, and all those things. And we will see it, but it's going to happen in God's timing, and we have to go and continue to let our light shine before men, that they would see the light that is in us, the light that God shines through us. And I just pray that they would see it in you. So that is all. And God bless. I don't know what happened to my light, but God bless.